Cool, so I thought I would just give you guys a visual representation of what the cutting plan actually is. As I say, it began last week on the 27th of August, runs through to the 24th of November. The sort of important things to highlight are just the general structure, which is that, week one over here. I'm logging 2,000 calories. I'm expecting it to be 2,050. Here, where it's got true values, that's sort of what I'm using for the purposes of forecasting sort of fat loss relative to what my output is. Through both sort of trying to actually see what my maintenance calories are by trying to maintain weight pre-trip over to Melbourne. I sort of ascertained that I was looking at about 2,900 calories, and that was going to maintain my body weight with my previous level of output. That output being 5 lifts in a 7-day period and 30 minutes of Stairmaster every day. Based off of that, if I wanted to, lose a pound a week, I'd be looking at a 500 calorie deficit. Here, I'm going for something a little bit steeper, just to make sure that I do the job in the time frame that I've got. I've got this wave approach that I do, and the purpose for that is to do a couple of things. Number one, it's to give myself a shorter time horizon in terms of a goal. So doing cuts in the past where I've just gone, cool, I'm going to eat at like in a 500 calorie deficit, and it's going to be wax on, wax off for 8 to 12 weeks. For some reason, that just makes it feel enormous. Like it's just dragging on for ages. There's no sort of touch points in terms of like success. I don't know. It'd just be the sort of thing where I could see myself kind of losing the capacity to stick to the plan because of the mundane sort of approach to it. And there wasn't like cool, week 7 in the bag sort of deal. It was just like, cool, I've got like another half of a cut left to go. That, and then I figured I'd seen some people online doing some pretty successful like mini cuts that were like 1,000 calorie deficits, trimming off a bunch of fat in a couple of weeks. And the only reason you don't maintain that is because you just end up wiping out all your muscle mass. But there's no reason why I couldn't do it for the first week of every 3-week cycle. So that's why it's 2,000. And then it jumps up to 2,400 for a log 2,350 to basically preserve my lifts in that second week. And at 2,400, that's still a 600 calorie deficit. So I'm in the money making zone, and as I speak today, that's where I'm at right now, where I've had the previous week where I've stripped all the water and glycogen. This week, it feels like I'm eating a whole lot more food, even though I'm in a 600 calorie deficit still. Fat loss is going to be pretty steady for this entire week, but psychologically, it feels like I've taken a step away from the hardest part. Perfect, right? Into week 3, it's just a little bit sharper than it was this week, and it's for 6 days before I have a cheat day. But as you can see, that 4,000 calorie cheat day, that's factored into the total calories for that 21-day period. Ultimately, it's kind of just about the numbers. I can have that cheat day because I've factored into the average, which is 2,330, leaving me in a 600 calorie deficit for that whole period. So the plan of attack is to run cycles 1 and 2. I'll weigh myself once a week. Obviously, I see myself in the mirror every day. I used to weigh myself a lot more frequently, and I used to pay attention to what the body fat percentage on the scale was. I've sort of learned not to. It's just about I'm not even too phased as to what the numbers are in terms of weight loss. Mathematically, this plan kind of makes sense. It's been stress tested. I just need to deal with the biggest part of the operation, which is just carrying it out. Regardless of where I sort of sit week on week, I'm going to carry out cycles 1 and 2. Cycle 3, you can see here, is open for adjustment. So if I get to cycle 3 and it looks like I've kind of lost a clean half a kilo, 600 grams, 400 grams a week, that's pretty good. I mean, I'll be hoping that it's half a kilo. Better still if I'm maintaining all my lifts and it's 600 grams and I'm all of a sudden looking like I'm a bit closer to sort of 12 point something percent as opposed to like 13.5%, 14%. I don't really need to change anything at that point, because if that was the case, then I would have been in a 600 calorie deficit, and I can roll into cycle 3 with the exact same plan. I'll weigh less, so I'll probably be in more like a 500 calorie deficit, which is still, that's pure profit for that next month. I can just keep running the week 1, week 2, week 3 refeed and be making pretty damn good progress towards my goal. Cycle 4, you can see it's got begin with an extended 2050 true intake block for 10 to 14 days straight. Again, that's working under the assumption that fat loss is kind of stalled after 9 weeks of dieting, and I don't have the capacity to do any more cardio. As I said, I do 30 minutes a day. I've got a job that keeps me busy as well. You know, I work sort of 6-7 days of the week, and then lifts are in the morning, cardio's at night. I've got a partner, I've got commitments. I'm tapped out as far as cardio is concerned, but I can do 2 weeks of pretty damn low calories if need be. So that's the plan. I mean, hey, you can see I've gone ahead and noted all of this stuff in here. The reason why you go through and you make a plan like this. Oh yeah, this is something else I built in, which was a get out of jail free card. I have a client-facing role, and I've found when cutting in the past that it'd be like a Saturday or something. I've just spent a day at the display suite. I've got to go meet a client, show them through some apartments or what have you, and I am pretty shot. My brain is just not really firing on all cylinders. There's just no bloody glucose for my thinking to operate as it should. A little bit shaky, definitely cranky, not at my best, but I am in a situation where I could make some money from this. I could help if I can sell this property. I need to be bringing my A game. Yeah, that's when having a 250 calorie injection and having that being built into your cutting plan is pretty important. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you do, full-time, school, job, what have you. Having troubleshooting built into it is pretty necessary, because otherwise you feel like you're succumbing to having a snack bar or whatever it might be to get you through that other thing which is also important in your life, and that can sometimes derail you, where you think, well, screw it, I've broken it for today, and you just full on blow out. Whereas 250 calories 4 times over a 90-day period is negligible. You just got to preemptively say that you're going to give yourself that opportunity, which is what I've done. I'll probably only ever need to use it in week 1. I did use it in week 1 just been, because week 2 and 3 isn't necessary. In week 1 I had something important to attend on behalf of the business I represent. But that is essentially how the cutting plan all comes together. In terms of the actual consumption itself, I might as well give you a run through on the same video. So let's just go with any of these really. This is what I'd eat for 2,000 calories logged. Again, assuming that it's about 50 calories more than that. I would have, the first thing I consume is this greens powder mixed in with creatine in the morning, obviously with water. Get some hydration in, get some vitamins in, and what have you. And that's quickly followed up by some hot beef bone broth. Pre-workout, I'm going to eat a banana just to get something in my system, have some Faction Labs disorder pre-workout as well. It's not logged, it's about 7 calories I think, kind of falls within my margin of error. Post-workout, scrambled eggs, 4 grams of butter, a little bit of hot sauce on top, glass of milk, and a kiwi. So you can kind of see that the post-workout meal here is coming in at 43 grams of protein. It's pretty ideal, but the important component is actually the 32 grams of fat. That is going to allow me to only have a shake and a Granny Smith apple for lunch, even though I'm at work all day. And then I'll go to cardio sometime after finishing up work. I'll get home from from the gym rather, after doing cardio, and have teriyaki with low potatoes, which have been cooked in some chili oil in the air fryer, and some hot sauce. Low potatoes are pretty ideal. This is an entry I made myself actually, just taking the existing food label and then kind of, what would the term be? The label says what the calories are for cooked weight, and specifically boiled cooked weight. So I kind of retrofitted what the calories would be for raw weight, and that's what I use because I cook them in the air fryer. There's lots of little things like this which you kind of have to take into account. MyFitnessPal is actually full of entries that are not accurate, and if you're kind of taking this seriously, and you must be taking it seriously because you're forcing yourself to suffer for weeks on end, kind of good to have the numbers right. Dessert, if you can call it that, is some Greek yogurt, berries, almond butter, honey. And again, those are the total macros for the day. More of an emphasis on carbs because of performance elements, just making sure that my lifts aren't suffering and my numbers aren't complete shit in that first week. Essentially that's it. The protein at 182 I think it was, that's perfectly adequate for someone who weighs as much as I do, which is 78 kilos. I think it was about 165 pounds. That's definitely over the sweet spot, and then the rest of the macronutrients can be put towards maintaining my hormones, which 55, 56 sort of will do for a week, and then fueling performance. If we go into the week I'm in right now, this is where things get a little bit more lenient. Here, there's a little bit more flexibility at play, but generally speaking, I'm sort of eating the same thing every day as well. That's once again the same thing pre-workout in the morning, and it's the same thing post-workout. It's the same thing for lunch. But when I get home, dinner is just a little bit better. Avocado, slightly fewer potatoes, venison, hot sauce, air fried. Ideal. And then my yogurt bowl is just a little bit more jazzed up. And that'll be me for week 2. Week 3 is actually, there we go, we got something planned in. Week 3 is kind of up in the air. Every week I'm going to be consuming the same thing up until dinner. I'll just pick out something that fits this mold for week 3. It just kind of needs to roughly land me at a situation where protein hasn't really suffered, carbs are increasing week on week, or at least carbs are the priority, and fat is just, these are the two constants. That's constant, this is optimized. And that's consumption. And then when I get to my cheat day, brilliant, have a refeed, a break from it all, and I'll still be in a 600 calorie deficit. And that's essentially how my consumption is going to work over the course of this cut. As I say, I will be running the first 2 cycles through, and then assessing things on the 8th. So I'll let you know how we track.